If I had to pick a favorite genre in gaming, without a doubt, it would have to be the first-person genre. It revolutionizes gaming experiences all around the world. It's just something that makes video games special. I don't know what it is, and I probably will never know, but it's just everything that I love about video games. And it's absolutely the reason why I had to make this list. Welcome to me, Matthew Davis, the movie lover, and today I'm counting on my picks for the top 10 best first-person shooter games of all time. And just so you know, these are just my personal picks. Not every single game on this list appeals to everybody, but hey, it's just my own personal list on what I love to play in my consoles. So, enjoy the show. Number 10. Left 4 Dead 2. The first game is without a doubt a really fun game, but the second game is definitely where it's at. More weapons, more combat, better AI, and it's the best FPS zombie game ever. It is everything you want in a zombie game. They're really fun bosses or sub bosses per se, and some really fun multiplayer to play with your friends. I never experienced the multiplayer before because I don't really play with friends that much. But guys, definitely play Left 4 Dead 2, even if you haven't played the first game. It's worth it. Number 9. Duke Nukem 3D. Now, a lot of people don't like the Duke Nukem series that much, mainly due to, Duke Nukem Forever, and pretty much nobody really cared about the ones for the N64, not even the 2D ones. Pretty much people say that the only good one is this one, and I can certainly say that this is an amazing game. Much like Doom, the original Doom, it definitely has its fair share of very creepy bosses, or, mutants, or whatever, you know what I mean. Funny lines of dialogue from Duke Nukem himself. It definitely works as a very excellent retro style FPS genre. And the theme music is fucking awesome. You got some bloody as hell combat and just everything from the lines. This has some of the best lines from the Duke Nukem himself, or just Duke or whatever. All I can say is Duke Nukem is a very incredible game. If you haven't played it, I'd recommend getting the 20th anniversary edition that came out. Number 8. Fear. Fear is a pretty underrated gem in my opinion. It has some amazing AI, some of the best I have seen in a very long time. While it certainly isn't a game for everybody, I mean, it's mostly a survival horror game, which its story really doesn't follow that much, which I can see why not a lot of people talk about it, but it was a successful game and spawned multiple sequels, which I haven't played. I've mainly been playing the first game, which I haven't beaten yet, but I definitely want to go back to playing it soon. Fear is definitely an amazing FPS game that has to be experienced by more people, and it'll probably be even appreciated even more if we try. But all I can say is Fear is definitely one of my favorite FPS games of all time. And that is saying something right there. Number 7. Far Cry 3. Yes, open world games will count in this. In fact, there's one more on here which I'm not going to spoil for you, but Far Cry has one of the best video game villains in a very long time. But that's not the only point. My point being, it's a large open world game which you can experience like for hours until you have to fight your mission or to your mission. I don't know what the hell I'm saying here. All I can say is it makes for some excellent combat and AI, and it certainly has some of the most beautiful looking open worlds I can ever see. And when I do make a list for the top 10 open world games, this will definitely be on the list. Shooting doesn't happen often, but all I can say is it definitely does work very well when you're fighting off enemies in some of the most excellent ways possible. Definitely seek out Far Cry 3, even if you haven't played the first two. Number 6. Halo 3. Now, a lot of people can say that the Halo series is overrated. I can personally see why. I mean, the AI definitely isn't perfect. In fact, it's pretty bad. But if I had to choose the best Halo game in the series, I'll probably have to go with the third one. Yes, the first two games were incredible, although I wasn't a huge fan of the second game, although it was pretty good, but I definitely have to give props to the third game for probably having the best combat and definitely being one of the best games for the Xbox 360, revolutionizing a lot more with its multiplayer and definitely having what I personally think has a lot more story to it than the second game, but it's definitely not the best game ever, but it certainly is a worthy competitor for the trilogy that it has made. It's certainly, at least in my opinion, the best Halo game, and it's certainly one of my favorite first-person shooter games of all time, and it definitely makes my list. Number 5. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. You knew a Call of Duty game would obviously be here. I mean, why wouldn't it be? It's one of the best FPS franchises of all time. While all the games certainly weren't great, but this is without a doubt the best in the series, having the best combat and definitely better AI than most of the games that come out nowadays for Call of Duty. This has some excellent use of multiplayer and I thought had a better cinematic story and a lot more, what is to say, probably the best war type movie or game that I certainly have ever played. I cannot wait to play this game again. It's certainly one of the best modern games of all time, at least in my opinion. And this is a game that all Call of Duty fans obviously seem to love. Definitely, without a doubt. Number 4, Borderlands 2. Now, Borderlands series is probably the most underrated video game series I've ever played. The first game definitely was not a perfect game. It has a lot of issues, but it's still a fun game to play. But this game is definitely a personal favorite of mine. It has everything I love about video games. Comedic gestures, some very excellent use of cel-shaded graphics, and where you can upgrade your weapons. Well, not really your weapons, mainly your when you level up. But all I can say is this is definitely my favorite FPS open world game, and it certainly makes a lot more fun with friends. That's why I have to put it on here. It's one of my favorite video games of all time, and it's probably one of my favorite video game sequels of all time. It's definitely a game that I highly recommend if you haven't played the first game. In fact, you can definitely skip the first game if you want. Number 3. Doom from 2016. While the original Doom will always remain a classic, this is the game that revolutionized everything that was great about the original Doom. Badass boss battles, and of course the glory kills, more use of weapons, and it definitely has some, well, it's everything that made the first Doom so great. It's fun, addictive, and very fast paced. Everything that was great about the first Doom improves on so many levels. You have some more incredible secrets that you can unlock throughout the game, and definitely follows through a more of a story, like unlike the first game. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, the first game does kind of have a story, but this game definitely brought everything that I wanted Doom to have. Fun gameplay, some bloody as hell kills, and of course, speaking of kills, let's not forget about the badass glory kills, where an enemy is almost dead and you can just finish them off with some epic moves. Kind of like in Mortal Kombat, except not as badass as in Mortal Kombat, but still, Doom is definitely an awesome FPS. Number 2. GoldenEye 007 from the Nintendo 64. What more can you say? Everybody who owns a Nintendo 64 has and plays this game. Everybody who has friends has played its multiplayer, which is definitely a fun time if you're having a party or something. This is the game that you have to have. It's often recalled as one of the best licensed video games, if not the best licensed video game of all time. For good reason. It's one of the best games for the N64. It was pretty successful upon release, knowing that it surprised almost every single gamer out there. I mean, the escort mission and some of its levels is frustrating, as well as its AI not very well used, as well as it not aging very well as most classic games. But does that make it a bad game? Hell no. It's one of my all-time favorites, and it's one of the best games of all time. Certainly, without a doubt, this is one of the best first-person shooters of all time, and we can all agree it's one of the best licensed games of all time, without any single doubt, and worth playing if you have friends or an N64. Of course you have friends. Everybody has to have a friend. Of course, before I get to number one, here are some honorable mentions. I didn't add these on the list mainly because I don't really feel that they were much of a shooter game, or they were just not good enough for my list. Still amazing games, but just didn't make the cut. With all that being said, let's move on to my number one spot, guys. Here it is. My number one favorite first person shooter game is Half-Life 2. You guys saw this coming. This is my all-time favorite first-person game, video game sequel, and game of all time. You knew it was the number one. As soon as you clicked this video, you were probably wondering, I bet Half-Life 2 is going to be number one. Of course it is. It has excellent AI, and, well, not a perfect story, but it certainly has a very excellent use of AI and combat, and everything that made Half-Life 2 good still ages very well today. And, you know, it's just everything I love about it, which is pretty much why I have to put it at number one. I know I'm not making that much sense, but yeah, guys, this is the big one. This certainly is everything I love about first-person shooters. The gravity gun, the every single weapon, and its use of excellent characters. It certainly does age very well to this day, and that is certainly why Half-Life 2 is, without a doubt, my number one first-person game of all time. And it certainly is one of the all-time best. So what is your favorite first-person game? Leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys later. Word out.